Ever since I was testing the Scizor Lost Box variant, where I included a 2-2 Bibarel line, I've been obsessed with playing it in my Lost Zone variants, and I'm really enjoying this more straightforward Radiant Charizard approach. I think this has a real good chance of coming back into the format because Lost City is no longer such a big deal, with Arcdura really phasing out of popularity in the recent weeks. Yes, there is still Lost City in Mew, but we have a Drapion in here in addition to the Radiant Charizard, so we should have still plenty of ways to free up our prize trade in that regard, so shouldn't be too big of a deal. So it really is only like these Palkia variants, which also are on the down low thanks to Miraidon's popularity spiking recently, where I feel like we could be struggling. But once again, against the Palkia variants, we have Charizard and we have Luxray for some type coverage. So the two main Lost City based variants that we have in the game are actually matchups where we have multiple threats that we can use. So really Lost City is far less of a worry, which makes this deck once again a very viable option. I took inspiration from Pedro Eugenio Torres's Lost Zone Charizard builds from the NAIC in the World Championships. Granted, they didn't do exceptionally well at those tournaments, but they're an exceptional player and are certainly a master of the Radiant Charizard version of Lost Box. The one differential here is that we're playing a 2-2 Bibarel line rather than a 1-1 Milotic line. I think the main upside of Bibarel is kind of twofold. First of all, Bidoof just protects itself much more easily than a Feebas does. And secondly, we have the additional draw power that we can gain in the opening stages of getting a turn 2 Bibarel developed, whereas a Milotic is always that safeguard that helps you, but doesn't actually help you get into the game if you were to establish it on turn 2. That's why I'm much happier with the 2-2 line of the Bibarel. It's still trying to serve as that Iono and Roxanne proofing mechanism, but it can also chip in here and there with additional draw throughout the game, especially when we are playing these 3 copies of Ultra Ball and the 1 copy of Lost Vacuum. We can be thinning some of these clunkier cards that get trapped in the hand, like VIP passes if ever we're drawing into these, but its main function isn't to draw cards every single turn of the game. It's to help us once we get that lead in a prize race that we don't really slow down and can make sure that we're drawing back into our crucial supporter cards more importantly. Things like Klara become such an integral piece to reload our Sableye and Charizard. Raihan and Magma Basin also help the Charizard get online that little bit quicker, so these are all things to bear in mind. The Luxray, as I say, helps us safeguard against the Palkia matchup, which is carrying Lost Cities, but it's also helpful in terms of its type coverage against Lugia V-Star as well as against Inteleon Rapid Box. So having the 2 copies of Reversal Energy adds to our overall energy counts just to retreat between our dudes, but in the matchups where Reversal is powerful, we now have Ultra Ball to actually make Luxray much more reliable. We have a Raihan to try and cherry pick Reversal Energy, and we have the Ultra Balls to actually get the physical copy of our attacker. So it feels like it's been more reliable than in previous builds, thanks to the way that I've built this Bibarel engine with Ultra Balls being established. Outside of that, we have a ton of Ball Search with the Fog Crystals, the Nest Balls, as well as VIP Pass, and in a pinch, these Ultra Balls can be getting you some basic Pokemon just to get established into the game, which I really like. We have the Pokégears in addition to the 4 copies of Colress, so we should be racing through our Lost Zone as quickly as possible to establish those early Spit Innocentlies and get towards that Lost Mine as quickly as possible. I'm currently only playing 1 copy of Lost Vacuum, and I really, really want to make a space for another, but I can't quite cut Echoing Horn just yet. I've used it in far too many games where it seems to have been the difference in giving me more avenues to win. So I feel like Echoing Horn is still also just really important for a deck that rinse and repeats Sableye so often. It also does open up the Boss's Orders play with Radiant Charizard as well. So I think there's a lot to like about Echoing Horn. Answers on a postcard what I should be cutting to fit in that second copy of Lost Vacuum, because ultimately that is a card I want to be playing. Outside of that, I'm really happy with the list right now. I think Radiant Charizard is right back on the map and in the mix right now, because it seems to have answers to every deck in the format, and Lost City is much less of a concern. Let me know your thoughts down below and enjoy the games. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. So, looks like we're going second in this first game. We have an okay start. Not ideal. We do have a supporter, but it's not Chorus, so not great. Looks like we're up against a Rapid Strike box, which is definitely one of the sketchier matchups for us. We have a lot of vulnerable hit point Pokemon that we pretty much have to have in play most of the game. And yeah, even with that Water Energy drop, means I have to try and get Manaphy down this turn, because otherwise our opponent could be threatening a Rapid Flow straight away, which is very scary. We will use our Fog Crystal to grab our first Comfey. I'm straight away going to grab Manaphy, and I am putting down the Bidoof. The Bidoof is a little risky, because our opponent can Yoga Loop it from as early as turn 1, but that would require like quite a bit of a combo, I would say. They need to get Alakazam and Medicham in the mix, as well as like Stadium and Energy, and Octillery can only grab like one of those 3 Rapid Strike pieces, right? So I'm going to try and take the risk and get the Bidoof established early to give me that extra draw, and get a couple cards into the Lost Zone. But of course, because we used Iono, we couldn't get a bit of chip damage in, which is a shame. Our opponent does establish another Intel as well as an Alakazam. They're going to go Tower into Iono, which is definitely scary. If they get Octillery, and if they either have a Ball Search or a Rapid Strike Energy, they could... Well, they'd also need to find VMAX and Water, so maybe I'm a little bit safer right now. Yeah, no VMAX at all, actually, which is pretty good news for us. We're going to get a quick Hisuian in to fish out Sableye. We'll grab a Klara here as well. The hand's really not great, though. I might just be using Spit Innocently this turn, unless the Pokégear can help us out. I'm at least able to evolve Bibarel. That's a big deal for us, actually, because the Bidoof is the most vulnerable Pokemon. Because I grabbed the Bibarel off the Comfey, I'm now able to go for this more aggressive boss line and take out the Remoraid, because we know this is always the lifeblood of the Rapid Strike box, so denying the Octillery is pretty big here. So we'll just take that. Our hand is clogged with a few VIP Pass right now. Could definitely do with drawing into one of those Ultra Balls or Lost Vacuum. But they're all going to go to the bottom of the deck, which is where we want them to be right now, which is good news. The opponent's going to get VMAX and the Rapid Strike Energy, so the Iono was pretty kind to them, with no guarantees without Octillery developed, so they're at least going to get hit in, but another turn without Double Gunner is really good for us. Because I took the Gust prize, I'm not able to unlock Luxray this turn, so I should just try and get to 10 if possible. I think that's pretty much the line I have to go for here. Going to get a couple cards from Incisors, but I need to get a Vacuum, right? Vacuum is the key piece of this puzzle to actually get to 10 this turn. If I can't do that, we're basically just doing nothing. The Charizard is much less important than the Luxray in this matchup, so we can let a Fire go. We have one in the discard pile. We know we have Klara, so that's fine. Another Comfey, and this is our last chance for the Vacuum. Don't quite get there. So it's going to be a 0 pressure turn for us, unfortunately. We're just going to have to pass things over. But we are holding on to Luxray Reversal. So if the opponent comes in with VMAX, they're walking into a trap, basically. So we have to hope there's no Iono coming in here. They immediately bounce Stadium and they go for a Research, which is pretty decent for us. They have Ultra Ball now. I wonder if they'll go for another Double Gunner or try and get Remoraid in. I think I'm too close to 10 in the Lost Zone now for them to even attempt Remoraid. They probably have to just go in like this. Yep, it's just going to be a quick Double Gunner onto Comfey Manaphy. And then we're going to see the Painful Spoons. I don't really agree with this, to be honest, because you'd rather have 2 on 2 different things than 40 on 1, because I'm already holding on to Switch Cart, and I'm quite happy to use Switch Cart this turn. So they probably should have split it, right? Because now I get to heal an extra damage counter. But there is one glaring issue with Luxray, and that it does damage itself, so it's giving my opponent more counters to play with. So that's something that we have to bear in mind here. I could still fall prey to a Yoga Loop this turn. We did just take out their first VMAX, though, which is a big deal. But trying to protect that Manaphy is important. Our hand's pretty well established now. We will see a Rapid Strike Energy. Looks like this is their means of getting a knockout on the Luxray here. We play Nest Ball for no target. So they have no more Intels, I suppose. There's the Medicham coming in, and just the Gale Thrust. So I've drawn into another Switch Cart, so once again I can try and undo my opponent's work here with the cart, which is looking pretty nice. And because I have Echoing Horn now, I can just ignore these big VMAXs and just bring back Remoraid and then set up Alakazam for the 2-turn win here. And with no damage counters on my board and only one Inteleon being threatened, I'm feeling pretty good about my position. I can even Raihan here. I probably shouldn't even have taken the Klara, to be honest. I probably should have just taken a VIP to hand, because, I mean, I'm already threatening double Sableye. So I have pretty much everything I need, but there's no reason for me to get Iono'd into 3 VIP pass. But as it stands, like, we are so robust right now. Double Sableye is established. I have 0 counters on my board, and my opponent can only double Gunner and Painful Spoon once, right? So there's no way for them to establish a Yoga Loop here. So we're looking pretty good. They've already played 2 Iono as well, so they may not even have much hand disruption left. Yeah, Klara doesn't change anything. And just a concession, so nice win showing off Luxray as well, which I think was a cool one. We have another game here. We get to start with the Cram. Our opponent had an interesting hand. They had Cynthia's Ambition in there. But I saw Candy and Water, so maybe just a Bat's Caliber that plays some funky supporters. These Fog Crystals are just so nice in the deck. They help just thin so much. They're outs to Energy and obviously Comfey in the opening stages. Both super important cards for us. And Sableye in the late game, so they're pretty much always live. We are able to get a couple selects in. Pretty good start for us, all things considered. We have the Bibarel potentially for next turn. And we've already started to get our Lost Zone underway, which is nice. Our opponent is a Chien PAL Bat's Caliber. Not necessarily the easiest matchup. I prefer the matchup if they play Palkia, because it makes Luxray a more usable attacker. You see the early Shivery Chill into Irida. They've had a really good start here. Double Friggy early on. They've got the Greninja now as well. You see the concealed cards. And the Ultra Ball. Wow, they've really had a good start. Straight into the Arc as well, so they are very well set for turn 2. We can use another Fog Crystal here. We can get that down before the Bibarel. I'm going to use Gear. If I whiff, it gives me the extra card from Bibarel. If I hit, I just play the Chorus here. We pick up the option to Ultra Ball, which I think is pretty important, right? We wanted to establish Manaphy here, because I'm pretty afraid of that Greninja. It's just a tough Ultra Ball. That will tend to happen when you are playing this deck. That there's not really easy Ultra Ball fodder unless you've held on to it for a while. Reversal can go because we know Luxray is less powerful now. And it's a debate between our supporters, as you can see. Yeah, and we're going to get rid of Boss's orders here, hoping that Sableye can take the wheel. We're going to get our rope in so I can get a Cram smack. A Cram hit was basically good everywhere there. We get one more top-up card from Bibarel and we take the first prize of the game. Zard from prize is always nice, because that can give us our late game damage output for knocking out Chien PAL cleanly. And if we set up any damage on Arc at any point, that's going to get in the mix as well. The opponent gets Candy backs before even using Starbirth, which is quite worrying. They've had a very good start. Here's the Ultra Ball now as well, so they can get V-Star. Yeah, they've had a really good time of things. They did get rid of Iono, though, which I'm quite happy with, because even though I'm clogged with supporters are the main thing that you want to play. And hey, there's the Cynthia's Ambition I made fun of. It's now putting in some work. Gets them second Candy back, so there's no easy prize for me next turn with Sableye, even. And they go into Superior. With Manaphy developed, though, I'm pretty... Well, possibly they even go cross-switcher Cologne here. And take out double Comfey. That's a potential pretty strong line. That will be cross-switchers. Oh, interesting. So they're going for Bibarel instead and just going to do Trinity Nova. So maybe they didn't have enough pieces to go for the Cologne play, or maybe they just value getting rid of Bibarel and stifling us with Iono later. We can play Colress, a pretty nice choice there. Double VIP hitting the zone. We do pick up a Horn play, which is looking kind of nice. I think the thing I'm lacking right now is Psych Energy. We can grab Ultra Ball from this, get some more thinning going. We do have one Bibarel in the zone, just making things a little more tricky. We're just going to Spit Innocently for now. Get some damage in on the arc. It does open up Luxray as well for us next turn if they do just go Trinity Nova. But they're going to retreat out of Arc, which makes things a lot harder because we've got rid of our boss's orders, actually. And 160 is a big chunk. That's a big number. Let's see. Even the Chien PAL gets an energy attached. And they're just going to go for the Buster Tail. So they're ahead on prizes right now, but they do have some damaged multi-prizes around for us to sort of catch up on. It's going to be big here, actually. We can Raihan to get this Sableye in the mix. Also going to think about dropping this Luxray. I feel like an Echoing Horn play is probably better here. Yeah, I like this Horn a little bit more. And just take out the Mew while it's there, so I can't just get kind of mugged off by Rod. I proactively put down Luxray and Reversal and Charizard, all because we don't have Bibarel developed, right? So I want to reduce my hand size so I don't just get done in by Iono. There comes Bidoof from the prize cards. That's going to be pretty nice, so I can try and maybe re-establish Bib at some point. I have a 6-card hand. They've played cross switches and a boss, I think. Maybe just cross switches so far. I feel like they'd want to take out the Luxray, right? But maybe the Sableye is just as threatening because I've set up the backs in the back for another KO. Basically, my concept here is that if I have a prize a turn from Luxray and Sableye, I can take a 2-prize knockout with Charizard at some point. Especially if I take out both Baxcalibur, they're going to be forced into one of their multi-prizes. As it happens, they do just go through the active. We can re-establish Bidoof now, and I'm also going to get an energy drop onto a Comfey just for a little bit more Iono proofing before I get Bibarel up and running. And we'll just hit into the Baxcalibur to knock it out. So again, we're both on 3 prize cards now. They've currently only got multi-prizes ready to go. I'm pretty scared of a cross-switcher Cologne play here. I think that's the only thing that breaks my back right now. If they just take a single prize this turn, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Luxray is at 130 hit points, but they probably don't want to come in with the Baxcalibur. Yeah, they're just going to have to hit with the with the Arc, which is really good for us. Because now I can finish off the Baxcalibur, and then they will have no option to mug me off with Greninja plays. And again, they will only have multi-prizes left to attack with, because they'll have no other acceleration. So now we're in a position where I once again have Klara and get back my Psychic Energy. Oh, we actually rip one off the top. That makes it even easier. We can grab Fire for next turn. Even going to play a Switch Cart, so I even have the pivot of Comfey. And taking out Bax here, pretty easy choice, because now they're basically forced into an Arc attack. And that's exactly what I want them to hit with, right? Because Charizard can polish that off. So now with no threat of a Greninja play, I'm feeling pretty good about our board. I think it was only last turn where I was maybe a little bit on the rocks. But with no threat of a Moonlight Shuriken, we should be pretty good. The opponent is going to gust up the Charizard itself and just take it out. But we're looking pretty safe and secure now with the Klara already in hand. Should be no drama. We can just get the Lizard, put him down, and we're there. So yeah, pretty nice win against Chien PAL. Definitely a scary one. They never got the Greninja combo out, but that's definitely a line that they can take right for a multi-prize turn. So got to be on our toes for that one. So I'm starting off with a mulligan in this third game. They have a Charizard start. Not doing too well on the old VIP front. I don't think I've started with it once yet, have I? But luckily we just have so much Ball Search in the list that we still get something going here with a Comfey. We're going to get A selecting in. I'm going to try and protect Stadium cards because we want Charizard online and we want Drapion online in this matchup. We're up against Mew. So Stadiums are really premium to bounce Lost City as well as Path. The opponent doesn't have trouble with VIPs. Oh wow, they have 3. Okay. Not a bad start, even failing them just so they can reduce the hand size. Not too shabby at all. And they actually dropped the Path on us, which is pretty scary. We're going to go for the Colress. And a tricky flower selecting here. If we just go straight Bibarel or we take Ultra Ball here. Ultra Ball means we can get a Cram hit in and tempo out on the opponent a little bit more, which I am kind of into. So yeah, we are going to get the Cram hit in. It is still important to establish this damage, right? Not going to play any of these stadiums. I want them to be bouncing the paths themselves. And keep these bounces for Drapion later. A little bit of a risk for us to get rid of our Pokégear. Means I can't like aggressively look towards Sableye anytime soon. But just a Klara play for Psychic and Cram isn't the worst thing for me next turn. It would still give me A play. Especially with Boss. Well, I guess they kind of clash, but yeah. A Cram Boss play would be a pretty good line. Also just Klara. Not too bad. The opponent is doing the Mew stuff. They've got their first VMAX DTE developed. They're going to play a belt on it as well, just to reduce the hand size. Genesect does eventually come down here. They are going to go full board, now that they've seen a little bit more of our deck, I suppose. And they're actually going to play Judge. Not the worst thing for us, to be honest with you. Oh, especially when we hit Beach Court Drapion off the 4 cards. And Switch Cart. That's a really good Judge for us. I mean, we have a lot of outs. We have 4 Stadium bounces in the deck. And we have a lot of Ball Search for Drapion, but still kind of fortunate. The only thing that's a bit sketch is that I've not yet developed Bibarel. If I'm taking these 3 prize cards, we're suddenly getting into Roxanne range and we can brick in all sorts of ways, so... Even though we're going to have a monster lead in prize cards and put our opponent really on the back foot, there's still things to overcome for us here. Oh, Colress, that's pretty nice. Maybe I can develop Bib off this. No luck with that. So we are just going to debate here what we're going to grab. Going to get an energy so I can bank that just to pay retreat. We can thin a VIP, which is a nice lost zone here. I feel like a Sableye is not a bad thing to develop at this stage of the game, honestly. Yeah, I'm definitely debating it. So we've just got rid of our Psych Energy, so we'll be reliant on Raihan or Klara if we're going to get that in the mix. We're going to keep our Stadium Bounce around. And we're just going to put 60 on Sableye. I don't think it matters too much where we're putting this. You just never put it on the Drap, right? Because you want to at least force the damage mod from them. We're going to see a Cram flip. Does get heads, so I imagine they're going to be getting Lost City. Or some means of damaging us. Yep, okay. Well, we see DTE plus Tablet into the Judge. Slightly better than Iono. We get 4 cards, and didn't do too badly off that. They're going to vacuum away a Forest Seal Stone. They still have their V-Star power, and I imagine if they don't hit the Lost City, they'll now have to use their V-Star power. Yep, we are seeing the Forest Seal Stone. Yep, it's obviously Lost City. Makes sense, because they can't allow me to Klara this back. Now we're looking pretty ship-shape here. Picking up Colress on the top is also really solid. The only thing we have to bear in mind is that we do have double Psychic in the discard pile, so it's maybe slightly better for us to actually hit the Klara here. We're gonna play this Ultra Ball and get Bibarel lined up. Draw a couple, doesn't change too much, but it does mean we can gear Fish for the Klara, which is going to make our turn so much better now. I'm even going to get the Cram back into the mix, because we can go Boss Cram later, as well as the Sableye Sprinkle, as we're just going to ignore the VMAX, obviously. Finish off the Genesect that we prodded earlier. Going to pop 1 damage on the Mew. I don't think it makes too big of a difference where that is. The opponent's going to rope us. I'm going to give them Cram. I still want to have as much draw as humanly possible. Let's see if they can disrupt us. Now that I've developed Bibarel, I'm so much happier about the whole us getting Roxanne or Iono'd or anything like that. We're just so robust. We're not quite holding on to win next turn, but I'm pretty close. I just need to dig towards Fire Energy, right, for Charizard. They have a boss's orders, and what do they go for? You know, Sableye's a threat, Charizard's a threat, and Bibarel is like blocking plays for their next turn. So all of them were good choices, honestly. In the end, they do go for Sableye. They're also going to bounce to the beach. And they're going to get through Sableye. We rip Sableye off the top, which isn't too bad. So I can keep that chain going if I really want to. But I feel like Rope Spit Innocently is just a good play here as well. It's effectively the same as just going Lost Mine. Again, I'm feeling happy enough to just attach here. Possibly my opponent goes for Boss because of this. Sableye is threatening game against them. Unless they're playing like the Volo or the... What else can they do to get us back out of range? I'm not too sure. They'd have to like combine Switch Cart and Cave or something. They do once again Boss, and they're going to finish off Sableye again. But we are holding Cram Boss, so no need for the Charizard Theatrics this game either. We can just do it a slow route, and 1 Drapion hit is enough in the matchup very often, unless the opponent is playing a lot of text for us. So let's get into our last game. So far, some nice wins. The thing I like most about this deck is that with that Bibarel online, you just feel so much more robust in the late game. The deck is quite precise in that it needs to hit beats all the time. It needs to be, you know, not missing those key pieces towards the end of the game, and it feels like the Bibarel really helps in that regard, where the opponent has just less and less options. Looks like we're up against a Lost Zone Tina. They got a lot of Pokemon down, but they didn't find any switch outs, which does make life a little easier for us. We're going to grab some Ball Search, pretty much always what we're going for. In the opening stages, once again, VIP Pass, just elusive all day. Never trust VIP Pass. I mean, you play 4 and this is what you get. You know? What a scam. Pretty happy with that selecting, though. Definitely like seeing the Nest Ball get in the mix, because I feel like I want to develop Bidoof and Cram this turn. Also, grabbing Manaphy is nice. Didn't really like having to get rid of Luxray, but sometimes you get faced to these difficult choices. In the end, we've established pretty much everything we want to. We've got the Manaphy now before it becomes an urgent problem. And once again, if you develop Bidoof early enough, it's pre-Sableye shenanigans and whatnot, you can get into that Bibarel. And next turn it's already going to be drawing me cards, which is looking kind of nice. And even though the opponent can go like Roxanne's Sableye, the Sableye would just be for just a single prize, and they won't be threatening Manaphy, and they won't be threatening like a Comfey and setting up another one, or if they've already set up damage, they can't go for the cool multi-prize plays. It's just like full commitment to Bibarel, which is much nicer for us, honestly. The opponent started to develop quite the hand with the Selectings plus Greninja plus Jet Energy now for Tina to Abyss Seek. I'm going to Path. That's really not bothering us for a long time. That's fine. I mean, it does get rid of Beach Court, I suppose, but not a big deal. We're going to Rope before the Bib for a couple cards. Nest Ball ain't too shabby. Get that Sableye developed early. Start chorusing now. Some easy lost zones there. We are holding VIP in hand, so Ultra Ball's not a bad thing to consider here. Gonna do some switch carting. Oh, really tough one. Klara versus Sableye is so frustrating. Do I limit myself to one Klara all game, or do I limit myself to a Sableye and force Klara for a couple turns? It's tough, but I think you got to keep the Klara, right? It's an ugly one for sure. We've had some tough choices this game. The Luxray having to go and the Klara. Both decent options for us, honestly. Sorry, the Sableye having to go, forcing us into a Klara corridor. The opponent's going to continue on their mission with Colress and Comfeys. Gates are unlocked. So they've made up for their kind of slower turn one with how these turns have been going. Get rid of a Switch Cart, which I'm happy to see go. They've already used one this turn. But Greninja's still at 50 hit points remaining, so it's still in range for a Comfey Greninja double prize turn. We have an awkward choice here, in that we are running a little bit low on our switch outs. So I didn't want to go into a Comfey here and then force myself into an avenue where I needed to hit Switch and Psychic. In this case, we're whiffing from the Colress here. So in the end, I was able to Colress to get me to 10, but I didn't have it alongside the guaranteed Psychic. If I went Comfeying first, maybe I find Switch Card and then I would have the license to Klara, but I thought it was low enough. Low odds, and also there is a small concern that if I play too many of these switch cards, Bibarel can get trapped. You always have to keep one of your switch or rope available just for that line. So that's a thing you need to bear in mind in the matchup, especially when the opponent plays when they play Sableye. You can't allow them to trap Bibarel, right? So that's something to bear in mind. The opponent's actually getting their Sableye in the mix. They're at 11. They turn attach to Comfey, which means it's going to be a Gates line. It's going to be Iono as well, which is a bit of a shame because we had those Klaras and they're so important to us right now. We also didn't draw into any ball search to reset our top decks, which is a real shame. The opponent's actually going to start getting some counters on Bibarel. We do draw the Vacuum, which is going to maybe declog our hand a little bit here. Get a couple draws from Bib. None of these reset our top deck, which is a shame. We hit Raihan, which I guess is okay. What's it let me do, really? All it does is let me bank an energy onto a Comfey here. I'm probably just forced into a Spit Innocently line. And I guess I just take Klara, yeah. Dropping the Psychic onto the Comfey just for when Beach Court inevitably gets bounced, and we'll just keep up in the prize race We're both at 4 right now. The good news is, once again, Charizard can be taking multi-prizes later. And I've actually set up a 2-prize turn with the 80 damage currently on Greninja. It could get taken away from us with another Switch Cart play from the opponent, but we'll see. The opponent's starting to select through their deck a little bit more as well. Here's their own Cram, and that's a really good outcome for us. Much prefer seeing a Cram than a Sableye here. Beach Court does get bounced, so happy enough that we got Comfey ready to rumble. And this seems like a good time to Klara back Sableye at last. That's why we grabbed it last turn, right? We can get a selecting in. Pretty nice choice of getting rid of VIP. I'm going to play the Rope to again protect this Psych Energy, especially because I know that my opponent could Sableye down Bibarel at any time. I want to have the Comfey as a backup to, in case we get hand disrupted, I have nothing else going for me, but I can at least pivot into the Comfey. We'll take our 2-prize turn here with Sableye. And we're really hoping for Fire Energy. We have a 50-50 for Fire here, and Fire would open up Charizard. The other one's in the Lost Zone. So yeah, we have missed Fire Energy, which is a shame. It means that our prizes have to come one at a time again. But Greninja's just been dealt with. It's off the board right now. A Rod's already been played from our opponents. And with the opponent coming in with Tina, I'm much happier to see this Roxanne, because again, Bibarel's going to be doing the work here. Had we not heard... still had our Fire in the prizes, we would have had a means of instant game this turn with a Charizard play. But we should have a fairly easy route to taking 2 prizes. And that route is going to be cramming this turn and looking to Sableye next turn. Thinking I want to play this Horn just so that I don't draw back into it at any points. Again, just considering the fact that my opponent could still go for another Hand Disrupt and get rid of Bibarel. They're going to go for a Vacuum. They obviously have to move out of this Tina. The best case scenario for them is getting a Sableye in the mix. Fading that, they just go Cram here, I suppose. Yep, and there's Water Energy, so it is going to be a Cram for them. And we're holding on to the pieces we need to win the game, with Sableye closing for us. They're going to boss Cram. I guess they're worried about us bossing for game, which was still an option. But we don't need any of that. We were able to get Sableye back last turn, so we can close out this way. Nice, and a nice wrap-up against Tina. You'll see that there's our energy that we were looking for all game in the prize cards. But didn't phase us. We were able to overcome some difficult prize cards there, some difficult matchups as well. But really, I just love the versatility of this deck. I think we saw all the attackers on show in today's video at different points of the game, so they all had a chance to shine. But really, at its core, it's playing the classic Lost Zone stuff and having a bit of cheeky Bibarel in there for a bit of safety against the Hand Disruption, which is a constant threat for this archetype. Let me know what you think about this build, comparing it to the Sizzle Lost Box and comparing it to other Lost Boxes in general. I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Cheers.